If somebody was saying that, hey, this person is interested, hey, why don't you connect me on WhatsApp or text or email? I'd love to connect with this person. And then I'll keep reminding them until they do.
Make sure what you're doing is actually working and supporting them, right? Make sure it's like actually making a difference. The thing about getting feedback in real time on things that just happened that you just did and you have to show up for it at your best, like that's where your growth edge is. If you're in front of a panel of other people who are going to critique and give you feedback on your coaching, like you're going to do your best, and then you're going to be very open to that feedback and implementing it.
When I work with leaders, this is what I do, and this is what it helps them do. They show up as better parents, as better husband and wife. They show up as better leaders in their organization and their community. So I'm constantly communicating that process because that's actually my real value. The quality of your service or product will give you referrals.
Coaches Nation. I love saying that. Welcome to the Coaches Journey podcast. I'm your co-host, Daniel Fernandez, and with me, I've got Faisal and San. And today, we're talking about probably one of the best topics in coaching is referrals. And I always think that referrals, actually, if you're getting referrals, that means you're doing a lot of things right. And if you don't do a lot of things right, if you don't do one of them right, you might not get referrals. So we can talk about some of that today. But I'm really excited to talk to Faisal because Faisal is like a really great referral master. And so like I get referrals, but like I think Faisal is even better than I am at it. So I would love to pick his brain a little today. And we're talking about surprising ways to get referrals in 2025. Things that are working right now. We'll talk about some of that. And we'll also talk about tips and tricks when it comes to referrals, because those tips and tricks will be effective for your business to get you more clients, to build more business as a coach. So Faisal, let's get started. Let's talk about referrals. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I don't know if I'm a master, but I feel like it's referrals are one of those things that are, and then yes, we're gonna speak to 2025, but it's one of those evergreen principles in business. In fact, the businesses that are doing really well, pay attention to any business in the world. The ones that are referral based, they tend to be much better than the ones that are not. And what do I mean by that? It means that a huge percentage of their clientele comes because other people are talking about it. And you might be talking about a product or whatever products that might be around you. Take a look around you, like what is the last thing that you referred to somebody? You were talking about it as if you were selling it to somebody. And by the end of it, you felt like the salesperson or spokesperson for the company, because you got a lot of value out of it, whatever that might be. I love this coffee mug that I got. I don't even know. One of my friends gave me this for Christmas, and I've been using this for water, coffee, everything. It's been amazing. It's like, I love this thing. I've been carrying it around everywhere, and I tell everybody about it.
So you're saying you're referring people to that mug?
Yeah, I'm referring people to this mug, except all I have is a logo.
You don't know what it is?
But I don't know
what it is. You put it up to
the
camera. Let me see it closely. I don't recognize that logo.
Yeah, so that's the downside of it. That company is watching this. You better put a name in here because
show me again. Let me take a screenshot.
Are you doing Google Lens?
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to see if I can figure out what that is. Because if it's that good a mug.
Yeah, it's a great mug. But I mean, the point that I was trying to say is like we're constantly referring products and services, whether it's your doctor you're talking about, or dentist you're talking about, or your chiropractor, or I don't know, a music class for your kids, or your phone, or whatever you're talking about. You're always referring people to things, and most people buy because their loved ones are telling them to buy. Most people don't do it.
Well, you know what just happened now? That like I'm looking up this mug now because I want to have a link to it later, but I won't rabbit hole here. But like I take your recommendation on mugs. Like I like it. I like you're telling me about a mug. I'm like, oh, he likes that mug. I need a mug. So like that's actually how that happens, right?
Yeah, and also we have, for example, this one. I won't. Like this is supposed to be a heated mug, like that heats when you put coffee in it, but it does not work. The technology does not work.
Don't tell me what that one is. I don't want to know.
I won't tell, but like I'm not promoting this to anybody. Why? Because it's the product itself is speaking for it.
Right. Yeah, so that's the perfect example of how referrals work. Like he told me about a mug that he loved. I'm like, oh, I want to know what that is. He told me about a mug he hated. I'm like, don't tell me about that mug.
Exactly
So
right.
basically, you want to have the kind of enthusiasm in your clients like Faisal had for that mug. I think that's the point, right? And then you can be the person like Faisal was in that example, and your clients can be the person like I was, like, let me go buy that mug, or let me go tell people about this mug. Well, I've lost the analogy now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and the way it works with the coaching world is, and I remember the first few times when people are asking about, well, how do I promote you? Then when they started getting value, and I actually didn't know, but instinctually I said, well, just share your story, just tell them about it. I didn't even know the next steps to tell them, oh, just directly connect me with them, and I'll like on text or WhatsApp or email, and then I'll care. I didn't give them a process. I just told them, just share your story with them. Like if they like what the results that you got, like you can connect later on. You can tell them to go to my website, or go. I would tell them to take them to my website, and it doesn't work. But now, like if somebody was saying that, hey, this person is interested, hey, why don't you connect me on WhatsApp or text or email? I'd love to connect with this person, and then I'll keep reminding them until they do.
Yes,
But
yes, totally. I think
the,
you're making a couple of good points. One is you got to tell them how to do the referral, and you got to remind them to do the referral, right? It's okay. They said they would refer them. So, like, you
I,
can remind them, it's okay. And give them a specific instruction. Like, what I tell my clients is like, first, let me know why you're sending me this text, and then send the 3-way text with them and me and you. And then we'll take it from there, you know?
Right.
Super
But,
easy.
but in the past, I didn't even have that process, and I started getting referrals for a couple of reasons.
Same.
One, that my service was working, it was adding value to people's lives, and they were talking about it to their friends, family. And there's one odd, then like I don't know, 50 people that they met, a couple of people would want to talk to me, and then I didn't even know what to say. Just share more of your story and tell them that this is what I do, and then they will, and the process would be so long because I didn't connect with them directly. And then at some point they would reach out to me, and then I would connect with them, add value, and then make my offer. But that's happening constantly, and this is where a lot of coaches don't have a business because they haven't served enough people. And I love this quote from, I think it's from Jim Rohn, that says, when you've helped enough people, you'll get what you want. And referrals is really based on that. How many people, if you really think about it, in the past year, in the past quarter, how many people have you served? How many people have you supported? And if you can't count more than the one hand fingers on your hand, then you're not doing enough. You got to help more people, especially in the economy that we're in the world we're in. People are, especially in this economy in 2025, at least what I'm experiencing, is that people are really being intentional about where they're going to direct their resources, time and energy to. And if you're not supporting them, guess what, they're either going some other place, or they're not signing up for your services.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I think the key message that I'm taking away here right now that we're talking about is make sure what you're doing is actually working and supporting them, right? Make sure it's like actually making a difference. And I think it's okay to draw attention to the difference you're making with them, right? Like in general, people don't notice how valuable it is sometimes. They don't remember, like they do notice, but you talk about it with them during sessions. Maybe, you can say things like, wow, that's a really big deal. Like we've taken you from here all the way to here. Like, do you remember what it used to be like? Like, that's great, right? And one of the things that, I haven't done as much of this, but I recently read about doing this and I loved it, which is like, have a referable moment that is very, very specific to the coaching that they're doing. So like if there's something specific that you can say like, oh, this moment is really a good one to talk about with people, something that happened to you, that's a great story you can tell other people, right? If you think that they have a similar situation or, something like that, tell them that story and tell them how it happened, right? It doesn't even have to be for referral purposes, but encourage people to tell the stories about what they're going through. It actually helps them process and get the ingrain the habits that they're building, right? So a lot of the times the things that you're accomplishing together can be stories that they can share with other people that not only help those people, but help the client as well understand like what's happening and process it better and be better at doing that thing that led to it, but also can be potential referral sources. So I like that idea. I haven't started, that'd be for me in 2025. Maybe I'll do more of that,
Yeah.
taking those
Yeah,
stories,
for sure.
helping them
And
share it.
and but what I think what you're referring to is to highlight, because a lot of times people don't connect the dots as to what's happening with their growth. And then
Yeah.
the stories that they're sharing or it's coming up within sessions, you can encourage them to share that with, and that also with other people around them. And that also connects to vulnerability and openness. And that's part of pretty much any kind of coaching process, is how are they showing up in their relationship? Are they talking about their growth? Are they sharing their efforts? Are they sharing their intentions for what they're doing? And it connects to communication as well. So it could become a part of your session. What, but I want to kind of
It
circle
could
it
even be a
back.
framework or something. Go ahead, Faisal.
Yeah, circle it back to why is it important to have referrals? First of all, just a couple of frameworks that have helped our clients. One, just keep in mind, over 90% of a really good coaching business, over 90% is referral based. Well over 90%. I can tell, like, between the two of us, both of us have that kind of business. It's mostly referral, but even though I do a lot more marketing on the outside versus Daniel, what Daniel's is word of mouth mostly, without much social media. Is that correct, Daniel?
I have like literally zero social media. I have a website that I put together like 6 years ago when I was thinking about it. It's still exactly the same. I don't use it. I don't share it. I literally had somebody refer me to, this is recent. I had somebody I've been keeping in touch with, um, that I know I can support and I have supported, who's not officially a client right now, but they are like, oh, my chief strategy officer like is looking to build an executive coaching program for a very high profile client. Do you have a resume or one pager? So I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably put one of those together because I'm pretty much referral based, but I haven't had to do a resume, right? So I put one together.
Yeah.
And actually doing that process was helpful, but I just realized like the more goodwill you sow, the more referrals you get, and the more you show people that you're supporting them, the more they think of you when things come up, right? And so
Right.
somebody that just happened like last week. So,
Yeah.
but I have literally no social media. Like he's not on my list. I don't have a list. I don't send out emails. I don't do Instagram, or I have a YouTube for my music that I do, but it's totally unrelated. Well, it's mostly unrelated, I guess. Like because I write music about things I care about, which is also the same things that happen in coaching, things I care about, like transformational experiences and whatnot. So, like I really don't have any kind of cohesive social media strategy, but my
Yeah.
strategy is simply like meet people and like support them if they want that. And then when you do support them, maybe they want to continue, and then they become a client, and you do a great job as a client, and then tell them like, here's who I'm looking to serve. Make them envision referring you to other people, so that they can share that. And another thing I do when I did this today with a client who's on a pause, who I had a call with today, and we had a great talk, and I said like, hey, here's who I'm looking for referrals. It's something you can do for me. He's like, yeah, great, I'd love to do something for you. And I said like, when you see this kind of person, consider referring me, right? He's like, great. And it's just part of the process, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And the part that I was highlighting is, even though I do have a social media presence, I do put out a lot of content, and most of it is because now I enjoy doing it. For a while, I felt the need to put my message out, and I was developing my skill sets and speaking and other things. So it was more of an internal drive rather than, oh, let me get clients out of it. It was never the strategy in the beginning. But even though I'm putting a lot of content out, even to this day, right now, 2025 March, well over 90% of my clients come from renewals, referrals. And the
Yeah.
10% or so that come from social media engagement, all that stuff that trickle in, even that, my process is not to bring in more and more cold leads, is to convert a small percentage, like let's say that 5% of cold leads that come in, and I go into their network, I serve them, support them, then they give me referrals. That brings in, I tap into a whole other network now that I don't know, I'm not tapped into yet. So all my strategies ultimately go towards referrals. And the way, for example, when I have a workshop strategy that I do every month and a half or so, where it actually makes it easier for my clients and people in my network to send people to that workshop. So I send them a link, or I get my VA to send a link to all the people that have gotten value from me, and they start inviting people, and they come there, and I add value, and then I make an offer. And if they've come there as a referral, it's usually double the likelihood that they're going to sign up for my program. If they've just come there as a cold, like somewhere from social media, that's going to take a while before they can get converted into
Totally.
a client, which is
Yeah.
very interesting dynamic to look at. So pretty much all, if you look at it from a strategic point of view, I'm looking for referrals. All of my businesses, I'm looking for referrals because exactly as we demonstrated with this mug, if I share this, if I share something that has helped me, it's very likely that somebody around you would want to take advantage of that. And we all make emotional, even if it's not the best fit for the next person, they will just probably jump in there because we make emotional decisions rather than, oh, let me do due diligence on this person or the service that feels aligned with me.
Yeah, and referral, like, it's about the enthusiasm, right? Like, my wife has a coffee company, Save Barista, and when, like, I actually was converted to loving coffee thanks to like what she showed me, and then now I love the coffee that we have. And when somebody's talking about coffee, I always love talking about the company. It's like I'm just enthusiastic about it, right? It's like because I care and I love it, and so that's the kind of like the raving fan type thing, right? And so you got to be a raving fan of the thing. Got to make your customers into raving fans. And like, the social media question for me, like, I think it's true. Like, word of mouth is the best source of traffic from a conversion perspective, even. But also, like, ultimately, if you think about what you're doing in your business, I read this somewhere. Joe Stumpf, I think, said this: is the purpose of your business is to make referrals, because if you're making a referral, that means all the other purposes of your business are working perfectly. If you're
Yeah.
not making referrals, some of those things might not be working, right? Like, if you're making referrals, that means you're on purpose. That means your business is succeeding. That means you're creating the value, creating, raving fans who want to refer you, which means everything else that you care about in your business is going strong, right? So I like that the purpose of your business is to make referrals. And from a social media perspective, I know I don't have all that stuff. I actually am getting to the place where I think this year I will be creating some of that stuff, primarily from a credibility perspective. So somebody refers me and they go to my social media like, oh, there's nothing going on here. They're like a little bit less credibility there. And that's I'm fine with that, because once they get on the call with me, it's fine. But it takes longer to get them on a call these days. And so I think there's a value to having some social media presence. So it's part of the long-term plan, but I'm not focused there. I'm still focused on the referral part of this and the creating value part of it. And yes, I do a lot of outreach within my network. And sometimes those people, I like invitation and referrals, pretty much all I do today.
Yeah.
So I don't think I need social media, but I think it would help. Again, it would take the referrals to another potential level. And it would also enhance my credibility. And also, I do think I'm at the point in my life where I do have something to say and to share, and I can have a voice out there that's contributing to the greater good, in many ways. And I want to build that. I just don't have the history yet.
Yeah, for sure. And also, again, connecting back, the reason why I started mostly was because I wanted to, one, build my skill sets to speak. I wanted to, a lot of the YouTube videos I created, I ended up creating it for my clients because I didn't want to speak too much on my calls, which I don't know how much that helped, but but I ended up creating those anyway. And then I just kept doing it, and I just spiraled towards, okay, now I like it, I enjoy it, and I'm doing it, continuing to do it. And then I realized that people are getting value from it. So now it's spiraled into something I want to continue to do because I get enjoyment, I get fulfillment, it's helpful for people, and it helps my business on the other side. So I would say social media is, I always look at it as a medium to long-term strategy. We're not talking about strategies, but so you understand, whoever's listening to this, you get the point of referrals, why it's important. Now, we talked about, oh, you should be asking for referrals, but I look at it a little bit differently, as in, if your product or service is good, you will naturally get referrals. So I look at it this way: asking for referrals and having a process for referrals is like eating supplements, but getting referrals is like the food.
I
So
totally agree with you there. Faisal.
so the food, if your product and service is doing well, people will naturally send you people. To what frequency and degree, that depends on your activity and how many people you've helped for how long. All that stuff are factors. For example, a few years ago, when I had spent 1 year, I did hundreds of strategy sessions. And by the end of the year, I was getting so many referrals, and I was so excited. I'm like, where the hell are these referrals coming from? And until I went back and checked, like, I've been helping a lot of people. And that naturally translated to them connecting with people because I had added a lot of value. And then that became my model. I'm like, I need to keep helping people. And that naturally, that momentum has gone on for years. And I used to have this fear, well, what if it runs out? Well, if I don't stop, it won't run out. That's
Yeah,
the thing. So
it's like
that's
what's
the thing.
causing what, right?
Yeah, so that's the causes that you got to put yourself out there, and to the point, it depends on the quality of your service, and that needs to keep getting refined. So that's the first piece of it, is that the quality of your coaching needs to be high. And how do you know that? Well, first of all, your clients will tell you based on the referrals they send, but you can do some stuff. For example, you can listen to your calls. You can, at the end of your calls, ask yourself, how can you improve this next time? You can have other coaches and business owners that give you feedback on your process. Those things can improve the quality of your service or product.
And actually, we do that in CMC. We do the coaching clinic where every month we have 2 members of the community do a coaching session. And we actually do feedback. We have observers, and we have Faisal and myself there. And whoever's there, we provide feedback on the quality of the coaching. And a lot of times coaches think they need to do more certifications, and sometimes those can be very helpful. But the thing about getting feedback in real time on things that just happened that you just did, and you have to show up for it at your best, like that's where your growth edge is. If you're in front of a panel of other people who are going to critique and give you feedback on your coaching, like you're going to do your best, and then you're going to be very open to that feedback and implementing it, because we've designed that process to provide feedback. And we used to do this in a coaching chain, but people weren't good at giving the feedback, no matter which way we tried to do it. And so we've realized that, you know, doing this with coaches live is actually a great way to increase the quality of your coaching. And that gives you more confidence with clients. And then as the quality goes up, your referrals go up. But Faisal, I had a question for you on the food versus the supplements. So
Yeah.
the way that I described the one I just did, which is like asking, it was more of a reminder, because this person knows, right? And I think it's really important to remind people, like clients, about the, like, for example, if they said they'll give you a testimonial or a referral, it's good to remind them, as we said before, but also like keep it top of mind that like you have space to help people. And one of the ways I like to do that, and actually I'm working on making this more part of how I remind people, is reminding them like what I'm all about and what I care about and what my mission is and who I'm trying to help, right? So like most coaches don't really know their avatar, and then most clients have no idea who their coach's avatar is either, or their niche, right? And so one of the things I like to say is like, hey, I'm really passionate about this particular group of people and helping them in this particular way. So to remind them like who it is that you're looking for, because sometimes like they kind of know, but they kind of don't know. So to me, I'm like reminding them. It's sort of a form of asking, but that's kind of my thinking about it. But I'm really curious about your thoughts on that or not.
Yeah, so one of the things that I always in my with my coaching clients, whether it be a group and one-on-one context, one of the things that I always remind them, like whether it's the stories that I share, the areas that I push them in, and I remind them constantly. And in fact, one of my clients said this is like one of the identities that I've adopted since being part of your community is that I look at myself as a leader. It's like I didn't look at myself as a leader, and I kept telling him, "I was like, no, as a leader, you need to do this. As a leader, you need. This is how I show up as a leader in my home. This is how I show up." And then within that same thought process, I'd be like, when I work with leaders, this is what I do, and this is what it helps them do. They show up as better parents, as better husband and wife. They show up as better leaders in their organization and their community. So I'm constantly communicating that process because that's actually
Yes.
my real value. It's connected to me, to my clients, to my mission, to all of it. So the more you naturally do that within your sessions, within everything that you do, people, they start to connect the dots. It's like if they see
Yes.
somebody that, and then when you explicitly ask, they're like, they know who you're looking for.
Yeah, I like that. I like that so much better, Faisal, too. It's a much more congruent and integrated way to do it in any context, right? So I really appreciate that. You know, that kind of combines everything I said and takes it to another level. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. And for those coaches who are listening, like when I do this with Avatar, here's what I do, and here's what helps them do A, B, C, D, E results, right? Like that is the message that you can like really refine. And I'm going to work on that again at another level here, Faisal. But if you can refine that message and then repeat it over and over and over again, people now know. And like the more they hear it, the more they get it. Right. So I love that really tweaked this process, which is actually, I would say, more than a tweak. It's like a different order of magnitude.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so for example, today I had a potential client. This is not my client. I've had a couple of conversations with him. I get a random message saying, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And he, like, for sure, it's a text. And I'd given him my phone number after I made the offer, and it was a random message. And he went through something in a conference room. He had a sort of a panic attack. He didn't know what was going on. He had enough, and he sent me a quick message saying, "It's like, I don't know what just happened." And I sent him a short response. The response is not even important. The fact that he trusted me to send a text and he just met me a few weeks ago, that that says something, right? That, oh, I have one confident somebody can help me clarify what's going on. Now, to me, that shows that he's actually already made the decision to work with me. Just a matter of, okay, what does this make sense for him right now or later or whenever? But the reason why I share this is that, like, this is how I want my clients to feel, my potential clients to feel, that I'm there to support them, and I've served them. That doesn't mean I'm constantly texting people. It's just, of course, I do it on my own time. But the fact that he feels safe enough to reach out and ask something very vulnerable as somebody in a really important position, that he has a lot of safety and he has trust in me that I will support him without any kind of judgment. By the way, what I just did, it's called story selling. And Russell Brunson, for example, talks about it. It's like a lot of what sells is stories, is how you serve people. The more you share your story, the stories of how you serve, sometimes that stories are shared by you. Sometimes that stories are shared by your clients in testimonial form. Sometimes that story is shared by you creating case studies, getting your clients on a Zoom call and asking them. That sells much. That will create referrals, that will get people to talk about the things that you're doing. But again, testimonials are a connection point to referrals, whether they come in terms of stories that you share, other people are sharing, or in case studies format. And the reason why I wanted to share it in that way is that you need to be talking about the growth that you're creating for other people, and you need to be talking about it to anything that's relevant to the person that you're talking to. And that will naturally lead to, hey, do you know anybody like that? Or even if you didn't say it explicitly, they will naturally make the connection that, hey, you know what, maybe this person can help this person.
Yeah, I think that's true. And stories, this is something I'm getting better at right now, which is talking about stories about clients, right? And about, like, we were talking about referable moments a minute ago. These stories can be a really powerful way. And actually, I used a story recently about this referral to this potential. It's not even an actual thing. It's just a referral to a potential client who might or might not hire me with this resume. But going through that process, I put together my resume. I started going through my testimonials and my results, and I found this quote from somebody that was like really perfect for this other person that is not yet a client. And I sent it to them. I'm like, hey, I was invited to do this, to submit a resume for this thing, and here's a quote from a client that really reminded me of what you're capable of right now. And I just want you to know, I want you to feel totally supported in the process that you are in right now. And whatever I said. And then they responded with the real words of appreciation for the encouragement. And we're still in that conversation. I don't know if he's ever going to become a client, but I actually really believe in the guy, and I want him to like really succeed, and he's struggling. So, the story can come from anywhere. It can be anything. It doesn't actually need to be an actual client. It can be anything that's relevant. That's a story that matters to the person who you're sending it to.
Yeah, for sure. And in this context, what we're also encouraging is that start talking about, either it might start with stories of growth that you've had, but then if you don't have testimonials, start helping a bunch of people and just ask them for a testimonial, or they will naturally give you sometimes. But your job as a business owner is to collect proof that you've helped enough people, because that will help you connect to other people. And what would you do with that? Well, you can either put it on a page, you can send it as an email, you can put it on YouTube, you can do lots of things with testimonials, or put it as a blog. Whatever form it takes, people need to see that you've helped other people. Same reason why when I showed this mug, even though we're connected, so he's going to go look at it more seriously. But let's say I just think about influencers who promote all kinds of products. Why does the company give them lots and lots of money to promote? Because, well, they're using their brand, people who trust them to promote a product. So anybody could show your service to anybody, and at that point we'll get promoted. That's why one of my strategies this year became, I want to be in front of as many people as possible. So I'm going on a podcast every week. Every week I'm going on a podcast, and that's the easiest thing for me to do without changing my lifestyle. And I'm doing that. Why? Because once the person who's running the podcast promotes me and our conversation is great, it's adding value, that starts to connect me with other people's
You're in a
audience.
new network, right? So,
And I'm creating a new network. So yeah, and now and this is where I want to connect it back to what we said, is that the quality of your service or product will give you referrals. Now that's the food. The supplements, which means that if you're eating food and you're not getting all your nutrition, what do? You add some supplements to it. This is where the process for referrals comes in. That means that you need to be asking. So one statistic I know of a couple of years ago that I looked into is that 90% of customers who've been served well by salespeople will get or willing to give referrals based on the survey. And I think it was in multiple businesses, but only about 13% of salespeople will actually ask for referrals. And the connection point here is a lot of times your clients might not even know that you're offering your services to other people.
right.
I got the weirdest email that I got a few months ago was one of my clients who's also a coach. She sends me an email. He's like, hey, I think you're working with this person. She's looking for a one-on-one coach. She's in my group program. So she has a conversation with her, say with my client, saying like, do you know anybody who would want? I want to hire a one-on-one coach. Clearly, I didn't do a good job of communicating that I am open for as a one-on-one coach. So
That's
she
so
sends me a
funny.
message. Are you offering this? Because I think she's your client. I'm like, yes, I am.
Well, luckily she told someone that knows you.
I know, but it would have been fair game if she said, no, I'm offering one-on-one coaching. And I would have been perfectly happy because I didn't do my job there.
Yeah, that's totally right. But she's in your group program because she likes you and believes in you. She might not have known that you have a one-on-one program, right?
Because she sees I'm busy. I'm doing a lot of things. So her assumption might have been that I'm not open to one-on-one
Or
clients
not available, right?
or not available. So we assume that clients can connect the dot, but that might not be the case.
Yeah. And I
Or
think
they might assume that your way to your rates are too high, or all kinds of other reasons that they haven't actually consciously explored, but it's subconsciously their assumptions that are popping up for them.
yeah, they have no idea, and you have no idea that they have no idea. So that's why
Exactly.
it's good to share, like to communicate about it. You know, like the line Faisal said, who we serve and why and what the results they have and all that stuff. It's good to communicate that over and over again. It's also good to communicate over and over again that I'm here to serve and I have space, or that I do one-on-one, or I do group, or I do whatever it is that you do. Like, what are the different things that you offer? Like, I have this, I have that. Find some way to work that in, whether it's just in your conversations with people in your groups, or it's in your emails or your social media. Like, that can be a thing. People sometimes look at those comments, or it can be part of the video. Like, there's different ways to continue to communicate that completely seamlessly without pressuring people, just to make sure they're informed. You know?
Yeah. For sure. And that's what we're trying to communicate, is that now, if as a starting point, start telling people that you're looking for clients, especially the people that you've served, but also anybody that you come across that you're looking for these kind of clients that you want to serve, support. Now that process becomes better and better as you create a system for it, that you know when you're going to reach out to people, how consistent you are. For example, today we had a session in our community where one of the insights that one of our clients had is like, well, he needs to create a column in his tracking sheet that shows whether or not he asked for a referral from all of his clients or the people that he's interacting with. Because a lot of times we will forget, we won't ask. He's like, I think I have a lot of people that I haven't asked this for. I'm like, well, create that column and see which.
I have a column for that, but I never thought to put, did I ask this person? I just put the referrals that I'm just trying to ask all the time, but I might have forgotten to ask for referrals from certain people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. I can say ask.
And it doesn't have to be just once. You can ask, especially a client you've served a lot, every quarter, every few months, that, hey, I'm open to some more clients. Do you know anybody in your environment? Like these are like add-ons. A lot of people get too bogged down by processes and systems. So first, you got to work on your service and product, get feedback. And the other thing I was referring to our session today was on the business side. So we don't just give our clients feedback on the coaching side the way Daniel talked about. We also give feedback on the business side, how you're doing, what's going on with their referrals, the health of their funnels, their sales process, how they're onboarding their clients, all kinds of stuff that comes into the business. If you're not used to it, simple tweaks can really shift the value of your offer, can really shift how your the offer is perceived, the value of offer is perceived by others, and actually the quality of your coaching as you do this, like simple tweaks. But you might not know that because you might be around other coaches who haven't built a business. And that's the difference between feedback from coaches who have actually created value out in the marketplace versus those who haven't. Or business experts who have never run a coaching business and they're offering business mentorship to coaches, which almost always goes the
Coaching
wrong
is a
way.
very unique type of business. It's not the standard businesses that other people assume, who are not coaches, who haven't been through the coaching world, right? So yeah. And actually, this brings up an interesting idea about adjacent things. So like sometimes we're talking about referrals to clients, but I think there's a value potentially in getting referrals to connectors. So people who know all the people who would be your clients. So if I know if I thought you work with investors as an example, and there's people that are not investors that actually do serve investors. So can we figure out a way to get referred to those? It's even easier and ask to say, hey, like, do you know any, I guess, who would be investors, like real estate lawyers who work with investors, right? And so maybe if you're working with an investor, then it's like, who's your lawyer? Or who, how do you could actually generate more referrals through referring to somebody who's not actually in your client demographic, but who is somebody who serves your client demographic, like adjacent referrals or whatever you want to call it. What do you
So
think of
there's
that?
I get what you're saying. I approach it in lazy ways
Yeah, tell
these
me. I'm
days.
curious. It was just occurring to me.
So no, that's a great idea to like look at adjacent businesses that your clients might be connected to, or they're collaborating or supporting or getting support from. For example, I've met this investor a long time ago, and I was on her podcast 3 times. We did one podcast, and then she ended up inviting me for 2 other podcasts in the same month to do, and then she invited me to speak in her community. This was a couple of years ago. I hadn't connected with her for a while, and then I reached out to her, connected with her. So I had a conversation like, we were about to collaborate on some things, and I wanted to do updates on what she was working on because she was building another community, and her investments were going good. Her podcast is now top 10. Like, is there somebody I can serve? And she asked a direct question. She's like, well, are you willing to share profit here? I'm like, yeah, of course. I'm open to that. What did you have in mind? And like those are the beginnings. So what does that look like? That's going to look like is she has a specific model for business. For example, she's looking for investors who are putting in at least $50,000 into a multifamily deal. But there are a lot of people who need support in her community. Those could be lawyers that she's collaborating with. Those could be investors that she's working with. Those could be property management companies or property managers. Those could be all kinds of people. She invites them on these community calls or networking calls every month. Like, well, why don't I go there, support them, and make an offer, and we can split the profits. Now it's another stream for her. Now, I don't know who's going to show up, but I know that everybody that she's connected to, that even those businesses who are looking to connect with others, for example, lawyers, accountants in that space, in the multifamily space, and I've run into all kinds of people. They get exposed to me, and then I get access to them. So I don't have to pick and choose all of them, but I can go there and add value and have an offer on the other end. And I'm not doing any of the promoting. I'm just showing up for the most part.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And that's another way to get into a new network again. What you're demonstrating, Faisal, is how to expand your network through service, right? Yeah. And through sharing the gains, right? Like, I love the profit sharing idea, right? So,
and the big difference between, for example, I'm also going on podcasts are a little bit passive because you're showing up, you're doing the podcast, and you hope that a bunch of people will look at that. But when you're showing up to a online, like a Zoom community call or an in-person thing, which I do sometimes too, you're actually interacting with people. You're serving, you're seeing their reactions. You're seeing the feedback and all the process. And of course, in person, you see it a lot more versus online, but they're both another level up from being on a podcast. So if you have a chance to go add value to an organization or a community around you, like these are such simple ways to create clients. Like if you are part of a church community, for example, we have coaches who have done this. If you're part of a corporate structure where they're looking for coaches, you go do some group coaching or one-on-one coaching for all I care, or you're part of a community who who want to serve people. But find a way to serve people, support people in whatever places. You don't need to constantly be like, where am I going to find the next person to talk to? Find ways to add value to somebody, and then on the other side, make an offer. And the key is you're always making an offer, whether the offer is, hey, let me support you a little bit more, or that offer is, what would it look like for us to work together? How can I support you further?
Yeah, love that. That's awesome, Faisal. I think we covered a lot of ground today. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
I would say simplify the process. If you want to build a coaching business, start finding the people closest to you that you can support. Referrals start with the people closest to you. If you actually look at the math around this, it's actually pretty crazy. You're actually connected to, I think it was Russell Brunson that was showing it, or somebody is like, every person is connected to close to 1 million people if you look at the math. But it's like a couple of degrees out, so you don't think about it. So you're connected, you might be connected to a couple of hundred people, and then if you expand that circle a couple of degrees, that's another 10,000 people. If you expand that more, that's another, I don't know the exact math, but it shows to about 1 million people that you're surrounded by.
I was talking to somebody recently about like, he's like, I think I've exhausted my network. I'm like, are you sure about that? He's like,
yeah.
Well, like I don't really want, I can't really do anything more. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I have this group of people here that I kind of don't talk to, and this group of people here that I kind of do. I'm like, well, like, is this, when you say your network, what does that mean? And so he's like, oh, just this, like, people that like are in this kind of group of people. I'm like, okay, well, what about all the people in your phone? What about all the people in your Facebook? What are all the people in your LinkedIn? Like, isn't that part of your network? They're like, I guess. I'm like, couldn't you be like looking at those networks? They're like, yeah, I guess I could. And so like, we're like, how many people are in those networks? They're like, thousands. Like, how many Facebook friends you have? Like 700, 1,000, 500, 3,000, whatever. LinkedIn, you probably have hundreds, like at least, if not thousands. And so like in your phone, you have like all these contacts in your phone for like from like decades ago. I got a question for you. Why are they in your phone? Are they in your phone for any reason whatsoever? Okay, if I asked you to delete that person in your phone, would you do it? Like, no, I don't want to delete a contact. Why not? Well, maybe because you know there's some benefit to having them in your network. And maybe the benefit is that you can serve them, or maybe they can serve you. So maybe there's a way to leverage your network and get more in touch and warm people up in your network. And so then you find ways to support each other. But if you think about the number of people that you actually have in your network, it's probably at least 1,000. Like if you've been alive for more than 20 years, maybe 30 years, you probably have at least 1,000 people that you've known or met or have some kind of connection to. And out of those 1,000 people, at least 1,000, some of them have thousands of people in their network, right? So right there, 2 degrees of separation, you're already at 1 million. And there's a, what's it called? The Metcalfe's law. The value of your network is exponentially related to the number of connections you have, right? So if you have 5 people versus 10 people, it's not just double the power of the network, the value of the network for you. It's like 2x, or it's like the number's 2x, but it's like 4x the power or whatever. There's some exponential relationship there. And there's like a lot of truth to that. But the nice thing about your network is you're the person who brings them all together. You're the one thing they have in common. So if you can bring a bunch of your network together for whether it's a Zoom call or a workshop or a mastermind or a training or whatever it is that you can add value, like you can be the leader. You can lead them to that value. And then once you do that, now they have a warm connection to you. Now you can make an offer, or you can get referred, or all these things. But you have to also have the courage to actually tap into the network. And sometimes that's to help them, and sometimes that's to help you. So and a lot of times it's both. So like, don't be afraid to go into your network. That's kind of what we do on our Mondays. We do a 90-day challenge. We're really focused on helping you take advantage of all the value that you can create in your network. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And
how
now
to do it. It's not that easy sometimes. So
it's not. And but now if you didn't know why salespeople and business owners are constantly connecting with people, they're going to networking events or all kinds of events. They know, they have realized either by instinct or by somebody's example or by strategy that there's a lot of value in that. And that's why they say your network is your net worth. So we'll leave it at that. Please share this with any coach that you might that might get value from this and like it. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. How have you connected with others? How have you gone clients? How have you gotten more referrals? How have you expanded your network? We want to learn from you as well. Please share that below. And until our next podcast, we'll hope you have an incredible day.
And if you want to learn more about us, go to cmc.coach. We want to help you and support you. So check it out, and we'll have our next podcast coming up soon.